Hey everybody, good morning. Welcome to this video I'm doing for Shared Harvest Farm. This is Tony, and I have been building a fence with the help of my lovely wife, who's off taking her mom to an appointment, I believe, or she has an appointment or something, I don't know. Anyways, we have been building a Hogwire fence that I will show you in just a minute. And there's a bunch of different iterations of how to do this. And we settled on kind of our own composite of different ideas that we watch on other people's channels. A lot of great information out there. I just thought I'd share with you what we're doing. I'll start with sort of the finished product. And I think it looks great, and I'm hoping that you might find this useful. So here it goes. Here is the finished panel for our fence. This is called sheep and goat. A lot of people call this hogwire, but it's not. It's sheep and goat fence. This one is 4 feet high, comes in 16-foot panels or sometimes shorter. So over there, you can see is a bunch of panels left. Well, not so many left. We've used a lot of them so far, but my bolt cutters over there that I've been cutting them with. I tried the grinder. I didn't like the grinder. Much prefer the bolt cutters. And so here is the fence that we've done so far. We painted the fence in the trim colors of our house, and then we put these little neat changing color lights on the top. You can select what color you want. One of the mistakes I made is going a little below the surface because I wanted to make these level on the top, which we did, but the far end that you can see is higher than the near end over here. So we decided that we wouldn't go back and correct that, but that we would, after this gate that we put in, that we would start staggering the heights. And we chose to put what people call a rot board or other things on the bottom of a 2x4. I'll get into the construction of it in just a minute, but we put a 2x4 at the bottom, about 1.5 inches above the highest point. And then we went 4 inches above the highest top rail of the fence to cut off our posts. And then we put the little cap on there. So you can see the levels of these fences or fence panels change with the level of the ground. So right here it's about 1/2 inch higher, and here is about 1/2 inch higher. It gets dramatically different in a little bit. So we put another gate in here. We did this first section, and then we painted it to see how it would look, and then we put another gate in here. We haven't painted this section yet, nor trimmed off the top of the post, but you can see down there. Now the height difference as the terrain changes gets different. This is about 1.5 inch difference in height, and so on and so forth. So now I'm going to get to the actual construction aspects. So I thought at this point might be a pretty good point at which to discuss how it's constructed. So I'm going to look down here. We've got a 2x4 rot board. These are all pressure treated for ground contact. When you get your boards, you can get all sorts of different pressure treated. They're not all the same. So I chose to get those that were rated for ground contact throughout the project. So we put our posts in. We put them all with concrete. I know that might be in some ways overkill, but I decided to put them all with concrete. On any gate or corner post, we concreted the heck out of them, and they're really deep. And so beyond that, we put our posts in, and we put a rot board in the bottom. Some people, when they're doing this, construct the entire panel before they put it in. I tried that, and I found it's easier, especially if I'm doing it by myself, to put the panel in piece by piece. So the rot board in first, and then the next thing I did was I put in this 2x4, which I have dadoed 3/8 of an inch wide in the center of it, all the way down. I just attach it with a couple of screws to the rot board. Now that secures the bottom piece. and then I put these two side pieces in. So I have found that doing it this way, with the height of the Hogwire or sheep and goat panel fence, the 2x4 here, right here, I cut at 47¼ inches tall, and it ends up looking like this because my dado is only a 1/2 inch deep. I have seen a lot of people go a lot deeper, but I didn't want to risk the vulnerability of this piece not being structurally sound. Might be not a big deal, but I thought, you know, if I can keep it intact, I want to keep it intact. So I went, this is 1 inch approximately, and this little cut in is about 1/2 inch deep with the 3/8 inch dado blade on my table saw. So 47¼ inches tall from the bottom board to where the top board is going to lie. Now this is 48 inches and a little, this panel, and so when I put in the top board, which is also dadoed, it will have a 1/2 inch on the bottom, a 1/2 inch on the top, and then the 47¼ inch board, which is 48¼ which perfectly seems to fit this panel without too much wiggling around, or but it holds it good, but it's not too tight. So that's what I did there. So each of these, I went fairly light on the screws too on this, so I put 2 screws on one side and 1 screw on the other side, called it good. Then when I slide the panel in, let's go down here. When I slide the panel in, it's a little tricky, especially with one person, but I basically take one end, whichever end is easiest, and I put it in the end, and then I work, and it's hard to, I can't do this without dropping the phone. I don't have anything to stand it on. So then I work the other end in, and then once I do that, it's going to fall on me. Once I do that, then I work on getting the bottom in. What I found helpful is if you take a mallet. Oh, there's my mallet. I was missing that. Look at that right there. Left it out in the rain last night. At least it wasn't my electrical equipment, my drill and stuff. So here I would put this end in. Typically I put the end with the shorter or non-existent tabs or little end cuts in first, and then I would work on the other end and then the bottom. Once I've got that in all the way, then I put the top board in. Maybe we'll come back later and do a video of putting that in when my wife is here and she can help me. So that's what we did. The other thing I wanted to point out is sometimes dealing with the slope is difficult. You can fill in places, like I'll show you a place that we can fill in here that we could probably do. That's not very big. We might fill that in with dirt. Our dog isn't a digger, so that'll contain him. But our son and daughter-in-law's dog is a little girl, a little bitty dog, and she could get under there, I bet. And if they come to visit, we want them to be secure, so I'll probably fill that in with dirt. But the other thing that you can do is what we did here. I saw this on at least one channel. So this bottom rot board right here, I'll point it out, it's right here. We dadoed the bottom of that. I don't know if I can show you, but so we cut this piece at an angle. We buried it about 3 or 4 inches deep, kind of drove it down by putting the angled fence in the dado underneath it, and then tapped it down with our mallet on both sides until it was level. We kept checking the level. Once it got level and we got about 3 or 4 inches down, we decided that was good enough. So then we toenailed this board in. I see there's a little bit of a gap there. You know, this is not perfect. It's a fence. If it's perfect, it's not my work. I know that much. So then I'll show you one more mistake I made. As I was planning for this, I meant to get this about 4 or maybe 5 inches deep, but it only went maybe 3 inches. And what that resulted in, because I sunk this gate post nice and deep, was that when we add that top board in, the post is just a little short. This is an 8-foot post and it's way down there. So, you know, unfortunately, that will stick up, the 2x4 will stick up. And I haven't really figured out if I'm going to worry about that. Well, I have figured out I'm not going to worry about that, but it exists as a little imperfection and reminder that I'm not perfect. It's a good reminder. I need those a lot. So then we'll put the light on top of that and build a gate for this section. The gates are pretty economical when you do it that way, because I'm mostly just using scraps from what we cut off on other fence sections. I show you a couple of other things. So I'll show where we're cutting off the panels over here. This, you can see we cut at an angle. That's the bottom piece right there. We just did that yesterday. Worked out good. I just marked it at both ends, 4 inches higher than the depth from the board to the ground, and then used a straight board to mark across and cut it off. And like I said, I did try a grinder to cut these, and I didn't like the results. So tips that I have taken on is, when I'm I know the length from the post to the other post, and when I measure that, I take, because my dadoed boards are an inch short of, well, the dado is a 1/2 inch, so there's an inch left on each end, so that's 2 inches, and then I give another 1/4 inch for slop or movement, so that's 2 1/4 inches. And so you measure from this down 2 1/4 inches shorter than your opening. However, the other thing to remember is some of these are cut very near to the end, and some of them, let me see if I can find one as a good example. Here's one. These are cut with, you know, 1/4 of an inch or more. I've seen them more like maybe 3/8 of an inch out. So you've got to take that into your measurement considerations when you cut these. So typically I'll take 2 1/4 inches off, plus if I'm measuring from this point, I'll take another 1/4 of an inch off for this little nub that sticks out, give or take, depending on how they look. This one's longer than this one. So that's 2 1/2 inches narrower, give or take, than the fence, the post to post opening. Bottom line is, if I cut it too short, either I can cut another panel, or if I don't want to do that, then I can use balusters to insert on the inside of the 2x4 to kind of secure it in place. And that we haven't had to do that yet, but we've come close. But that would look like putting basically a 2x2 piece, or whatever fits in here, right, and putting it right in here. It would stick out like this on each side to secure the fence in place. So the other thing is, we spray painted these with their Wagner power painter and a black latex oil mix stain that matches our home's trim. Excuse me. You can see the trim on our home is that same color. So we just had Home Depot match the color, and it worked out really well. We debated whether we would spray paint them before we put the pieces on or after. We found it much easier to put it on after, paint it after it's in place. Now, my wife asked, what about painting the fence here, the wire? And she wasn't sure that would work, but it's just flaking off. That kind of paint, it just flakes off. It doesn't really show up much. You can see kind of here, it's only been a few days and it's already almost gone. Weathering will take care of it easily. Our gates, we used these hinges. These gates weigh somewhere around maybe 60 pounds. These hinges are rated for 50 pounds each, so 2 of them is 100 pounds. And so it's kind of Not a lot of extra weight security, but it is good. We used these are called cane bolts to secure the gate into place. And then we'll just put a little gravity latch on top here to tie these. You know, I'm not the best carpenter, not the best fence builder, but it worked out okay. The fence is a little crooked, so we got it kind of tied together to kind of give it some time to correct its little warp there. But hey, whatever, it'll work for me. I'll take you into the shop now and show you the tools briefly, that the power tools that we used. There is for building gates, for cross pieces, there's a calculator. I think it's called Bricklayer or something like that online. It will tell you, you put in your numbers, and it will tell you exactly how you need to cut your cross members for your gates, what angles to use, what lengths, and so forth. So there's our shop vac, and we hook that up to either our table saw, or still stuff in there because it was full when we had to empty the vac. So, or our cutoff saw here, and when we need it, we have a little circular saw for a couple of angle cuts. Pretty, you know, decent equipment, but nothing fancy. This table saw is meant, this DeWalt table saw, it's a very nice table saw, but it's a little on the small side. It's meant for job sites, right? And it intentionally, I think by the manufacturer, was not designed for doing big wide dado cuts. I had to get in here, and I'll just take this off and show you. I had to get into the saw and do a little bit of modification in order, it's got a lot of sawdust in there, in order for this to work. I don't know if I can show you exactly, but there is a little plastic piece that was down here that was in the way of putting the dado blade, this extra second dado blade on. This is the original, this is where the original blade would be, and this is the other blade. There's little spacer discs in there to get to 3/8 of an inch, but there was a little plastic piece in the way there that kind of helped guide some of the sawdust, and I had to cut that partially out in order to use this saw. Now, I know what I did. I just voided my warranty for this saw. DeWalt would probably say, "What are you doing, you crazy person?" But frankly, I go slow, I go carefully. The saw is sufficient for that. I don't wear it out. Fact is that it's been working great. We've done, I don't know how many dozens of boards carefully dadoed through there. I don't know what else to tell you, except for it's been fun as a project to get to work with my wife and have that. So this has been a lifesaver too. This is a earthquake post hole digger. The best thing about digging post holes is to not use this, but to use this. So I very much appreciate it, and it's been going well. When you get done digging with this, if you haven't used one before, you know, find somebody that's done it or look it up on YouTube or whatever. But I've dug lots of post holes, and this will dig an 8-inch post hole. It's kind of on the smallish side for a 4-inch post, but it's working fine. I can clean it out a little bit with the manual diggers. Sometimes I've encountered roots. I've got breaker bars and other tools like this that can kind of pry those or cut those out. And then the last thing there is, if the ground's particularly dry or hard, I found that just putting a couple gallons of water in the hole and leaving it for a few hours and coming back, that might get me 6 or 8 more inches really easily. So if I'm doing 10 holes or 8 holes at a time, I can go from hole to hole and let them soak and stuff, and I don't lose much time, and I can work on other aspects of the project while I'm waiting on it to soften up. So I hope these things help. If you got any questions or comments, I'd love to hear you. Don't tell me, oh, I messed up on this or that and I should know better, because I probably already know better, because I am aware of all my faults. But if you like this and you find it helpful, or if you have good, helpful, constructive hints, let me know. I'd love to hear what I can do better next time when I never do this again, or maybe I will. But there's a gravity lock. And where are those birds I hear? I hear some Canada geese going hunting on Sunday. So getting ready to do that. Anyways, blessings and best to you and your family. Bye.